In comic books and books this week, we have a really interesting development. If you're not currently reading Marvel, and the reason for that is you just don't know where to start, well, they have a new partnership that's going to make that actually strangely easy, depending on exactly what characters you're interested in. Plus, we have an update on the DC Elseworlds series that's got me pretty hyped, as well as some actual comic book trailers to discuss. Hello, nerds, and welcome to this week's episode of the news as it pertains to comic books and books. No discussion of current storylines, story arcs, or any of those kind of details is going to happen here per se. I am, after all, a one-man organization and can't read every book that comes out and report on it and any of the news therein. But we can talk about new announcements and major changes as they pertain to any of the publishers that we follow, or just generally nerdy literary information in that sense. So let's get into all of that, shall we? And also, if you dig what's going on here, there is a much more up-to-date and possibly relevant, because it takes a second to get these sections posted up, so probably much more up-to-date version of the news in long form I like to call The Week in Nerddom over on the main channel, which you can find linked in the description as well as at the end of this video. That show covers many more points of interest in the nerd community, in the pop culture community at large, and so definitely go check that out. Now let's get into all of those literary notes, shall we? Comics this week is bigger than anticipated. We have a follow-up to talk about. It's Elseworlds. We talked previously about how they're reviving Elseworlds. Well, as part of that revival, they're reprinting the OG Elseworlds books. Like, they're printing them in collections, so it's going to be a few different trades that they're putting them into, but like, super stoked about this. The classic Elseworlds books are... I don't have a date on them yet. So if a date is available, I did not see it. I'll try and find it and put it on the screen if it exists. Otherwise, they're just coming soon. Honestly, I think volume 1 of the Batman collection is already available, because I saw the cover art for volume 1 and for volume 2. Either way, if you don't know what Elseworlds is kind of DC's What If situation. So Marvel has What If, where they write, it's a very mini series usually, where they explore what if Spider-Man was British, or what if Captain America was British. I know that's repetitious. Whatever. What if Spider-Man was the Sorcerer Supreme? They go through these kind of things, which is kind of a way of looking at the multiverse, and they've used it to that extent. DC though started this trend with the Elseworlds stories, where it was just some different thing, and some of the biggest DC books were technically Elseworlds stories. Very specifically, the Superman Red Sun. We have Killing Joke. Started as an Elseworlds. It was so popular though that it got brought into the main universe, and they kind of sort of changed the implication at the end. But that started as an Elseworlds. You have the Gotham by Gaslight is an Elseworlds, which we're getting an expansion for in the new line of Elseworlds books. Super good stuff. A lot of really great writers just having fun with these characters under different circumstances, and it's fantastic. I'm so excited for this. Like, I honestly, one of the things I do when I find a way to get to Comic-Con when I can go is I look for Elseworlds books. So the fact that they're reprinting them in collections has me really excited to finally have a lot of them in physical form. So if you're not excited about it, I'm sorry. You should be. Let's move on though. Next up, let's move into the trailers section. We have 2 trailers this week to talk about. Normally we don't have any in comic books and books. First one is the new Iron Man story arc that is about to start. It's going to be on shelves in October. The writer is Spencer Ackerman. The artist is Julius Ota. This looks pretty freaking crazy. I'm not familiar with Spencer Ackerman at all, but like that sword though, right? whoa, what the hell is that? And then like you get a weird like instance of the Hulkbuster armor, and this definitely is going a long way. I think part of the reason why we are starting to get trailers a little bit more frequently, at least if this week is any indication of what's to come, is because sales are down, and so they have to hype up these things that they're doing that are exciting, and that sword excites me a lot. So yeah, go check out the trailer for the new Iron Man book. Link in the description as per usual. Also, the other trailer we got this week is for the new Exceptional X-Men book, which is going to be the Kitty Pryde version of the X-Men. The writer on this one is Eve L. Ewing, and the artist on this one is Carmen Carnero. This one slightly less hype, but still definitely looks interesting, doing enough to pique my interests, if you will. So yeah, I'm probably gonna thumb through it when it gets on the shelves at my comic book shop. I don't know if I'm actually gonna buy it, but I'm probably at least gonna get issue number 1 for that Iron Man, just so I can see what the hell it's all about, because that looked dope. Anyway, that's what we got for trailers this week. Let's move into regular ass news. We only have one piece of regular ass news, but it's pretty intriguing as well. So if you're familiar with the For Dummies book series, where it's explaining very complicated things to people who want to get into said complicated things, there's a million different For Dummies books. Also, The Idiot's Guide to, very similar line of books, though not the same publishing company or anything like that, but very, very similar. They're doing that with Marvel Comics. They have already rolled out with the Fantastic Four, not the Fantastic Four, which one is it? Yes, Fantastic Four. Fantastic Four is the first one. Marvel General Book is the one that's already rolled out. The next one to rolled out is Captain America, and then we're also on the very near future going to be getting Fantastic Four and Spider-Man. These are not necessarily story books. These are for beginners books. These are the books where if you're not a comic book reader currently, and the reason for that is because you just don't know where to get in. Well, Marvel has teamed up with the For Dummies book people, and they're writing Marvel Comics. For Dummies is a thing that's on shelves right now. Next one is Avengers For Dummies, right? I'm remembering, no, Captain America, I'm sorry. Captain America For Dummies, and then Fantastic Four For Dummies, and then Spider-Man. Like, you have Captain America is more recognizable recently because of the amazing movies that we got in the not so distant past. And then you have two of the biggest names in comics in general. You have the first family of comics, Fantastic Four, and then you have Stan Lee's personal stand-in in Peter Parker. Spider-Man is the fourth book on this list so far. So it's going to be covering everything from the creation of the character up to modern comics, though I think anything after like even mid-90s is probably not going to, like, it's going to be really funny because it's really good stuff up through into I would say even into the 2000s, early 2000s, but 2000s nonetheless. And then it all kind of falls apart. So it's going to be really interesting to see how people who haven't been reading comics kind of take the shift, because they have to outline that shift. If they're covering that spread of time, like, you have to see that shift happen at the end of this book, right? So it'll be really interesting to see how people receive it. But yeah, that's what we got for our regular ass news. You can find a link down in the description that will take you to Games Radar, and then that takes you to where you can purchase these. I'm sure you can find them on Amazon. I'm sure they're at Borders these days, but that's what we got for regular ass news, which brings us to our comic book suggestion for the week, and it is The Crow, the original comic book from 1989 on Caliber Comics. I believe Caliber Comics was purchased by Marvel Comics, so if you're looking for a reprint of this that is very potentially on Marvel Comics, if memory serves. Either way, The Crow, the original James O'Barr book that the 1995 movie was based on. Supposedly the new movie was based on it too, but don't take that as any indication of the quality. This is some of the best dark, again, we're in Halloween season, so that's why we're going with the theme. And The Crow has been on my brain recently because that abomination in the theaters right now. So yeah, The Crow, the original book, written by James O'Barr, Art by James O'Barr, color by James. Dude just did it all, and honestly had a strong hand in the creation of that first movie in '95 starring Brandon Lee. Just fantastic all over the place. That is your comic book suggestion for the week. If you want some really quality gothic art and gothic storytelling, then The Crow is the place to go. That brings us to the end of the video, nerds. Thank you very much for joining me for the news. Once again, there is a full and probably much more up-to-date and recent episode of the news, the full-length version, if you will, called The Week in Nerddom over on the main channel, linked down in the description, and probably link popping up somewhere around my face right about now. So click on that, go check that out as well, or if you prefer your news in more truncated pieces, then by all means just stick around here and go check out some of the other stuff we offer on this channel. Thank you very much for joining me. We will see you in the next one. Before we go, always remember, nerds, that if it is generally nerdy, it's probably here.